Hi, welcome back to FM 66.6, The Big Quack. The only station you'll ever need. This story is for all you parents out there. There's a new movie coming out, and you'll want to make sure to keep the little kiddies away from this one. We're getting all kinds of reports that it'll likely rot their minds and cause them to join a cult and likely fight against the established government. Can't have that now, can we? No, sirree, we sure cannot. Experts are saying that this movie will convert your children to a new religion and take them away from God or any reasonable facsimile thereof and damn their souls to eternal torment in a lake of fire that burns but does not consume. On top of that, it teaches them to work with criminals and break established custom laws and lead them into things like smuggling and working with drug overlords. You don't want that for your children. Nobody does. But perhaps, of course, worst of all, they'll learn how to disobey their ruling leaders and overthrow the government by means of violent bombings, shootings, and, of course, destroying their stations and military power. So, watch out, parents, for this movie, Star Wars. Even the name sounds violent to me. It's coming out May 25th, 1977, and if you care for your kids at all, you should keep them away from it. Thankfully, as horrible as this report makes it sound, I doubt anyone will remember it in the future. All right, let's get back to the songs on FM 66.6, The Big Quack.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
This is the way.
and so much more.
JJ, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure. Well, hello there, people of the interwebs, and welcome to the 39th episode of Crashed While Loading. I am your host, Ashen Phoenix, and with me today is still absolutely no one, because it's easier to do the show on my own, and for some reason, people turn up and listen to it. Actually, the numbers on the downloads are up, which is shocking. I assume it's from Russian botters and Ericus being nice. By the way, hello Ericus in the chat, and just downloading it multiple times to soothe my easily bruised American feelings, and all the while saying, "I'm sorry, but it's for your own good." He's just that kind of guy. He just one of his mottos, if I know anything about Ericus, it's that he gives until it hurts other people. That's the way he works. That's just how he rolls, and I love him for it, personally. I've got a great show for you today. The news was pretty light, as was expected. I mean, we had E3 for a week, and get a lot of news in 1 week, and then there's like a drought for several weeks after that. There's a couple little things here and there. Some movies delayed. Maybe Final Fantasy IX is getting an animated series. Phil Spencer says a few things. And then the big thing at the end of the show is I'm finally going to go over that clip that I did from 1170 KFAQ back in 2008, where they were saying that story was going around that Mass Effect was basically just a sex simulator. We're going to listen to that. We're going to listen to that. I actually got on that show. You can listen to 27-year-old me try to defend it to the best of my ability, and then 42-year-old smarter me making fun of 27-year-old me and the idiots he was talking to. That should be fun, and also go over a few other gaming controversies some of you seem to enjoy. One of them, which I loved, I had completely forgot about it, that DPS stood for deaths per second. I tried to find more information on that. I remember that being a thing, but I couldn't find it because Google is smart, but it's not that deep in the well smart, apparently. And what's up, Scribbles MMO from Defend the Night, who is a good guy making an MMO that will be good. I wasn't pausing there for dramatic effect. I was taking a drink because I was thirsty. I think it looks interesting and good, and I can't wait to actually play it. So, with that, what have I been up to? Well, Loki's still going on. 3 episodes in, I think out of 6, and this one was a little fillery. A couple other people think that too, apparently. I still liked it. Like, sometimes when you have 6 episodes, even if it wasn't so much filler as like it felt like a transition. Like, they had to get, they have to move things along at a fairly quick pace. I mean, it is still basically like going to be like a 5 or 6 hour long movie overall, just cut up into chunks. The episodes are a lot longer than some of the other ones. Like, some of the WandaVision ones were like 30 minutes total running time. Like, I don't count the 8 minutes of language. They do every single language in the credits as well for every country in the world, which it's a streaming service. Maybe I'm just stupid, but like, if you pick the language, just show that language at the end. I don't know why there's a difference that you have to show every, I don't need to know what the Portuguese cast's name were. I didn't listen to it in Portuguese, and honestly, I'm not even sure if that's entirely an option even here. But I don't know. It just seems like it's a 54-minute episode that ends at 45 minutes because the rest of that is all that. But anyway, Loki. The special effects were really good. I'm digging where they're going. There is one quote unquote controversy that I'll probably get to at the end of the show because it kind of goes into someone else's annoying thing that's not really a controversy, but is some people freaking out that Loki is what are they? His sexuality. I forget what they call it now. He's not straight, which, if you know Norse mythology, is not Marvel being edgy and weird. I mean, the dude turned himself into a chick horse, banged another horse, and had not Fenrir, that's the Doug, the other one, the 6-legged horse that Final Fantasy uses all the time. The dude gets around, and he does a lot of weird shit. Horse banging, I doubt, is going to come up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have a feeling they're going to gloss over that part. And honestly, the scene that, I guess I'll just talk about it now. The scene they're talking about was between him and the woman, and, they mentioned if he has any loves in his life, men, women. He's like, oh, whatever. It's just like, I get around. It's like, that's it. That's the big line. That's what you're getting upset about. And I get it. Their promotion of it can be annoying, but it, like, story-wise, it was absolutely fine. And it was honestly, that scene, that line there was shorter than the sex scenes in Mass Effect that everyone freaked out about. So it's just, the shit people want to get upset about is just so dumb. When there's really good stuff to get upset about. Like, for example, D&D Dark Alliance.
This is Crash While Loading's half-ass reviews. Maybe we finished it. Maybe we didn't.
We didn't, by the way.
But either way, here's what we thought of it.
So, I have a weird juxtaposition on this one. I actually streamed my first playing, which, by the way, I apologize for the quality of that. I did not have that set to nearly high enough bitrate, and it looked like it was shot on a Nuke's Top 5 camera from another country, or any country when they're trying to shoot paranormal investigations, and for some reason it looks like a 7-Eleven security camera from 1987, June 24th, of course. It was not a good stream, so I apologize to anybody that even remotely looked at that and went, oh, good, now I have cataract. I can't see anything. I probably should go to the eye doctor. It's actually not cataract. It was just my shitty bitrate. So I got on there, and I never do it, but I did it, and I used the find a group thing, and we played. I got in a random group. I played Drizzt, which was funny because I actually was going for Canterbury, believe it or not, just because I figured everyone was going to want to play Drizzt. But I get in there, Canterbury was taken, Wolfgar was taken. It's like, well, I'll just fucking pick Drizzt, and then here comes the dwarf. And believe it or not, I actually had a really good... We were all talking, all four of us. It went rather smoothly. I killed myself multiple times because the game does not explain to you that you need to get near a fire to go near ice, frozen stuff, to warm your body first. So I died multiple times right off the bat, and they were nice enough to come and res me and do that over and over. And it was a pretty fun experience. It was glitchy as fucking hell, I will say that. I rolled off things for no reason. I would be in the middle of hitting goblins, and for some reason they would then do their slap their butt tease me animation, which was it's not good. It's just a bad game. It really is. It's up there with like Fallout 76, where it's bad, but if you get the right group of people to play with, it could still be fun. Which leads me to the time I tried to just I wanted to do a solo run and just do Canterbury. So I made it through about 15 minutes of that. And it wasn't that it was hard. With Canterbury, I even had it at the hero difficulty. I could do it, and having played that same mission already, I could have gone all the way to the end. No problem. Except for the fact that it probably would have taken me over an hour to do it alone. Canterbury she definitely, being long range, you can... That's what I get for not turning things off and just clicking into them. You could snipe things from far off, and like their animations, they'll come running at you, they'll start to do stuff, and if you get far enough away, they keep their damage, but they'll run back to their default position where they were, and then you just finish them off. So I could have done that, but I was already getting bored. With the people, it was a lot more fun. If I had more friends online that I like to play with, that would probably make it even more fun. But I've also found that coordinating that stuff is a giant pain in the ass. And this review comes after having only done like the literal first mission and finishing it once and only getting halfway through it, or 10, 15 minutes into it the second time. But from what I understand and what I've seen and what it felt like, I've played the entirety of the game as well. Which is a shame, because it really is cool to have a game that has, Canterbury, Battlehammer, and Wolfgar and Drizzt. Not Drizzit, as I called him for, I'm sure a lot of people did, forever, until we were like, oh yeah, there's no I in that. So, yeah, I mean, it's on Game Pass for free, so I'm not out any money. I'm not angry at it or anything. That does feel like probably a proper price to pay for it, at least at the moment. The AI is just super wonky and does not get jiggy with it. And on top of that, it is actually telling the original, like, Icewind Dale story, or just shortly thereafter, pretty much. It glosses over some of that, and then the crystal's lost, and then people are coming to get it. I seem to recall that being in the books, so it's not really doing anything new. But it is what it is. I mean, it's probably a good 5 out of 10 in my book, so go with it as you will. Buy it. If you're going to spend $60, make sure you're a damn big D&D fan, is all I got to say. Or get Game Pass for $15. I think it's on even PC. If you get the Game Pass Ultimate, you could try it there. It's the closest you'll get to renting it, and that's probably give you plenty of know-how if you want to keep doing it. Something else I actually got into recently, I'm on this 3rd book now. And the funny thing is I found this because of Fortnite, of all things. They're doing a Kelsier skin in Fortnite, which apparently is from a book series called Mistborn. I forgot to look up the author because I'm new to it. I don't remember his name. But it starts with like the Final Empire, and his name's Brandon Sanderson. And I've got the audiobooks. So this is a trilogy. There's more too in this world. But the Mistborn trilogy happens, and I guess then there's some books that happen after the fact, way later in stuff. I don't know. I've just seen it on Audible. I've gone through the first 2 books, and I really like the series. There's like Elemancers and things like that different metals they swallow allow them to do different things, and the Mistborn have all the powers, and then the Mistings have just one of the 8 basic metals is kind of the way it goes, and there's others, but I'm not going to spoil it or anything. That's just how the world sets up. But there's a mist that comes at night, and there's, it's the final empire is ruled by an emperor for the last 1,000 years who's immortal and a sliver of God, supposedly. And it just goes through Kelsier getting a crew together to try to, like a thieving crew of Ska, which are like the lowborn slaves, basically, and trying to overthrow the final empire and kill the Lord Ruler. And it takes you through a lot of twists and turns. It's very well written. If you do the audiobook, it's very well voice acted. The guy that does it he does all the voices very, very well. They're all extremely distinctive. Even his female voices are really good, which is, for somebody with his deep register, is not always the most easy thing in the world. So I appreciate that. But I've really been digging it. I might give like a spoiler review after I finish the entire trilogy. On Audible, each book is like, I think the last one is 27 hours. They're all around 23 to 27 hour long books for 1 credit on Audible. Not a sponsor of Audible, but I cannot recommend them highly enough if you've got time and you want to listen to books but don't have time to read them. It's fantastic. So yeah, and the funny thing is apparently I can see why people are like, this is a really weird crossover for Fortnite to have Kelsier in there. And it is an extremely weird crossover. There's not a whole lot to bring you to that any more than there is for Aliens, from the Alien stuff that's also a skin. But it put Mistborn on my radar, so I didn't spend anything in Fortnite, but Brandon Sanderson got some cash out of it, so smart move, dude. Yeah, Fortnite is running out of content, according to Ericus. Yeah. They're on that thing where they're trying to make they call it the metaverse, where they're trying to get all sorts of brands. They're trying to do the Oasis Ready Player One thing where you could play in there whatever you want. The problem is it's just a skin that looks thing, but it's the same base game no matter what. I don't understand where they think they're going at it with that. Sure, they've done in-game concerts and stuff like that with that Marshmallow Dude or whatever it was in a few movie trailer premieres, but it's Fortnite. You go there for a battle royale, not to do all the crap they're doing. So moving on to one thing. This one here isn't so much news. I mean, it is technically, but really it was IGN's title that got chuckle out of me. So it was a title from IGN's website for a movie called Out of Death. And the title is Out of Death is a new action thriller about a retired cop starring Bruce Willis. A new action thriller about a retired cop starring Bruce Willis. A new action thriller.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah, no, I think that's basically just what Bruce Willis plays now, is a retired cop brought back and doing things. I mean, that's pretty much McClane at this point, and like the last, I think, 4 or 5 B-budget movies I've seen him in. I don't know what they're doing with Bruce Willis or why he's taking these horrible movie roles. He is a much better action star, even at his age, than he is getting in these movies. They're like straight to Redbox rentals lately. I don't know what the deal is, but an action movie about a retired cop starring Bruce Willis. This is, you know what, it reminds me of that old South Park episode where Eric Cartman was like, so I got a movie idea, and what it is, it's Adam Sandler, and every movie idea was just Adam Sandler, and it had starred Adam Sandler. Brilliant, fantastic, yeah, screw you guys, I'm going home. And, that was the entire episode. And that's basically what it feels like they're doing with Bruce Willis now. So I got an action movie. It's going to be a retired cop. And his daughter gets kidnapped. And he meets up with Liam Neeson. Yeah. And they go and they get the bad guys. That's the story. It's a terrible Eric Cartman impersonation. I'm very well aware. I hadn't planned on doing one. Also, I don't know if you know this. Trying to do a voice when your ears are covered and you can't hear anything but the echo of your own voice in your through your bone ears is difficult. That's what I'm blaming it on. So moving on to actual news. Dune got delayed. I'm looking forward to Dune. Skeptically optimistic. Keyword on skeptically. It went from November. I'm looking literally right here where it spells October, and I just say November because my brain is the smirt. October 9th to the 22nd, so it's it's 2 weeks, but Warner Brothers is apparently shuffling around a lot of stuff because COVID is coming to a close. Movie theaters are opening up. I think I haven't seen it yet, but the Fast and Furious 9 is doing pretty well, and before that. The Quiet Place 2? I think that's the title. The one where they can't allow to talk because the aliens will eat their children. Oh, spoiler alert for the first one, by the way. It doesn't end well for one of them. Guess which one? Hint, it's the one with the giant, loud, noisy toy that they shouldn't have let the stupid kid have. That's the one. And also, there's they're moving Many New Saints from the 24th of October to October 1st, which I didn't even know was coming out. Apparently, it's a Sopranos prequel that follows like the elder members of the Soprano crime family when they were younger. I've never seen Sopranos. It's actually on my list now that we've done finished Breaking Bad and watched El Camino. We still need to watch Better Call Saul, but Sopranos is kind of on my list of shit I need to watch. Like I don't know. I feel like I like crime stuff, and I like Italian crime bosses. Not that there's a mob. I ain't saying there's a mob, but, the Hollywood version of a mob is very interesting to me. It's just very interesting. It's very unfactually related to anything in real life because there is no mob. Definitely not in Vegas, not in Jersey, nothing like that. They don't happen, no. But I never got around to it. I didn't have HBO at the time, I think, and that was, I think when that aired was really kind of when the TiVos and stuff like that were just kicking off. So there's really no way for me to watch it. And now it just takes a lot of time. So yeah, that's going to come out. Clint Eastwood's a novel adaptation of Cry Macho. I actually have no idea what that is, but I do like Clint Eastwood's movies, so I'll probably watch it eventually. October 22nd is now going to go to September 17th, and all three of them are actually going to theaters and HBO Max at the same time. They're still keeping up with that, at least for now, although some of them have stopped. I forget which one just came out, and they're like, yeah, we changed our mind, which I'm not too surprised. In other news, something that a lot of people will be excited for, including me, even though I never finished the game. I've tried it twice, and it's not that it's a bad game, Final Fantasy IX. It's just that it's long, and I have the attention span of a gnat, says the guy that is now on the third Mass Effect game, having done every mission in the first two to completion in the Legendary Edition. It's turn-based mechanics, man. I love it, and it's so slow at the same time. It takes forever. Although I think I might try it again because I think the newer versions have a speed-up mechanic, so that waiting through the animations is what kills me. So anyway, Final Fantasy IX, apparently there's a rumor that it's getting an animated adaptation, or at least the studio is in early stages of putting together an idea for the show and pitching it to broadcasters. The report comes from a place called Kidscreen, which says it's being developed by a group called Cyber Group Studios in collaboration with Square Enix. There's basically nothing known about the show's style, length, episodes, how many seasons, pretty much anything of relevance other than the fact that it's probably in the works. They say Cyber Group goes into production. They intend to go into production late 2021 and plans to debut the show in 2022. So, I agree. I'm getting this from GameRanks here, and they say that it seems like a random choice, but really, of all of the Final Fantasies in recent time, this one is the most kind of kid friendly. It's got the cutesy art style, the chibi heads, but not like in the square blocks way that Final Fantasy VII was. The characters actually had an animated, for the time, Pixar-like look, like they, super deformed kind of thing. I would actually love to see Final Fantasy IX redone with modern, just updated graphics, like redo the backgrounds because it was stationary CGI backgrounds, and then new animated things, and just keep much of it the same. Just update the graphics, and maybe some of the wordplay and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool. But I think it's really neat that we're getting a possible animated adaptation, and I really hope it's animated, not just as much as I love Square Enix's CGI. Like, say what you will about Spirits Within, Advent Children's actually pretty good, especially the extended cut. That one makes a lot more sense. And Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive, say what you will about their storytelling when it comes to their movies, their animation is top notch. They are hard to beat. One of my, actually, I think it was one they did that a lot of people forget about was the Animatrix Final Flight of the Osiris was one of theirs done. And it was, I think, a 10-minute short, and it was fantastic. It's still one of my favorite things from the Animatrix. And Animatrix had a lot of great stuff. That was Sex, Death, and Robots before that show even existed. That Animatrix was. It was really good. So, yeah, that's a thing we're getting. In other news, moving on, apparently there's an patch to Marvel's Avengers that was exposing streamer IP addresses. It has, of course, been fixed, but I will tell you, as someone that has streamed occasionally, hearing this, I can imagine that both of the streamers that are streaming Marvel's Avengers were very upset. Thankfully, at the time they were both streaming, no one was watching because it was Marvel's Avengers, and nobody is playing or watching that stupid game. Now, oh, come on, Ashton, you're exaggerating just a little bit. So at the time of me writing this, there's 550 people playing on Steam around the world at the time, and 227 people watching Marvel's Avengers on various streams on Twitch. So, am I joking? Yes, it's more than 2 people. But am I really joking?
This can only end in tears.
Yeah, no, I'm not. It's just a bad game, and I'm surprised that even that many people play it. And the way they're coming out with the information on it, with the new characters and stuff like that, you'd think it was selling like Destiny did, or anything. Hello Kitty Online Adventures, for example, probably has more people playing it at this very moment than that does. It's just bad. But yeah, I mean, that's not good, I know, but it was updated, and I'm sure it made very little difference. I don't even know. I'm not smart enough to know what people can even do with someone else's IP address, especially given that back in the old forum days, there was like a plugin you could use, and you could actually see people's IP addresses and things like that. They're not hard to get hold of. They really aren't. If you have even basic knowledge or the ability to do a Google search, you could probably figure it out. So going from there onto something near and dear to my heart, which I think is a shame that this isn't already in the works, because the first Killer Instinct, the reboot Killer Instinct that came out when Xbox One came out was honestly one of the real big reasons I got an Xbox One when I did. I like fighting games. I love Mortal Kombat. I really enjoy Street Fighter, or I used to. I skipped 5 because that was just a train wreck. I'm sure it's fine now, but it's past its due. But Killer Instinct is one of those I've loved, since I was playing it in an arcade game on Orchid, and it wasn't just because she had, giant boobs. I just liked her play style, and for some reason I do tend to go to the chicks. Sonya Blade was my favorite in the original Mortal Kombat, though. No, Mortal Kombat 11, I like Jade. She was the one I tried them all, and she's the one that I really connected with and enjoyed her play style. Mortal Kombat 10, I liked I want to say it's Tanaka. It's the guy that had the chain whips. So there's a dude. I don't always go with the chicks, but I do predominantly for some reason. Chun-Li was my jam in Street Fighter 2. I was really, really, really good with Chun-Li. The thighs of steel, and I don't know why that is. I can't even say it's the creepy, like, I just like to look. If I'm going to look at a woman or a character for hours, I'd rather it be a woman. It's not even that. It's, I don't know. In video games, I identify as a woman. What? Fight me. You can't say anything. That's the law. It's a law against that now. Just many, ironically, I am playing as female Shepard. That's more because I played male Shep in the first playthrough years and years ago. So, doesn't really bother me, but do like that. So anyway, Killer Instinct, I really dug this, the first one, the one that came out with Xbox One, and it really was a good, solid fighting game. The graphics, especially for being a early release, like, within the first month or so, what really hurt it, I think, was that they did it for free for a few characters, and then you had to unlock or basically buy the game to unlock the whole game, unlock all the future characters and things like that. Then there were a few DLCs, and given even when you bought the game, quote unquote, I think it was like $25-$30, which is well worth it for a fighting game of that quality. And we've not heard hide nor hair of anything from Killer Instinct. It had a lot of development problems early on. They switched studios partway through, and yet they still did a really good job. So Phil Spencer is, if you don't know who he is, he's Microsoft's head of Xbox. He's the Phil Spencer. He's their Todd Howard. Said that they're trying to find the right team and the right opportunity. And after that, another Killer Instinct could be made. So apparently he was talking on an interview called a podcast called Dropped Frames, which, by the way, it's no crashed while loading in the creativity department of a podcast name, but I dig that. Dropped Frames is that's a really good name. I like that. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that. It's just a good, solid podcast name. But he spoke on his views on Killer Instinct, and he said, there are so many games in our catalog that we'd love to visit. The response when we redid Killer Instinct at launch of Xbox One was fantastic, and it was. I really liked it. He went on to say he and Matt Booty Booty.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Booty. Head of Xbox. I've got the mentality of a 4-year-old. What do you want from me? Head of Xbox Studios, quote, have discussed many times Killer Instinct and where I speak goodly, and where we would like to go with it. And it might be out of our minds, but it's in our hearts and in our minds that we want to continue to do something with KI, which would mean it's not out of your mind there, Matt. It might be out of our minds, but it's not out of our hearts and in our minds. You can always tell when something is quoted because someone was saying something live somewhere, because live, that would probably sound perfectly fine if you said that and just continued on and didn't focus on it like I am right now. But when you have it written down and then say it out loud, it sounds stupid. And I know that, because if anybody transcribed this crap, they'd have things like tribe scrab, because I didn't say transcribe correctly. At least I'm able to point out my own flaws, just like my mother used to. So many times. Who's laughing now, bitch? Anyway, continuation of Spencer says, it's about finding the right team and the right opportunity, but it is not due to any kind of lack of desire on our part. It's been since 2013. It's almost been 10 years since the game came out. And with all the studios Microsoft has, I really, 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 really want them to find a team and make a brand new Killer Instinct, because that'd just be fantastic. All right, so moving on to our big thing now. This is going to be kind of a back and forth. The full segment that I have on here is 10 minutes long. I think it's the whole thing because I uploaded this myself back in January 27th, 2008. And this was at a time when YouTube could only upload up to a 10-minute video. You couldn't go over 10 minutes. There was no 24-hour-long YouTube videos at the time. 10 minutes was the limit. And I think before that, it was like 3. And they slowly increased it because this is a time when 2008, let's see, Obama was just elected. If that puts things into perspective, if you're into politics, like he had just that month been sworn into office that long ago. So yeah, but feel old yet? I do. So anyway, this is a local radio station. I forgot their names. Thankfully, Past Me was nice enough to put it was the hosts are Gwen and Chris. I assume Gwen is the chick in this and Chris is the dude in this. They were local radio hosts on 1170 KFAQ. I'm reading what I said. KFAQ, which is, by the way, still on the air. And I really don't listen to it anymore because they've had hosts since then. And while I do listen to conservative radio, and that's fine. I don't always agree with everything. And the host they had currently was kind of a dumb shit. And I don't really... He just went off on the deep end on a lot of dumb things. So I stopped listening. And now it turns out so did a lot of other people because he doesn't actually have that job and they've got filler stuff in there now. So anyway, they're good people, but clueless about video games. It'll take you about 30 seconds to figure that out. Reading a bad article on Mass Effect about the 5-second sex scene, and I had to call in and correct them for me and gamers like me. Here's hoping I did us justice. And I haven't looked at this thing in, I don't know, let's see, probably 10, 11 years, since I put it up. And I'm surprised at the number of comments it got. And funny enough, they're all pretty like, hey, you did pretty good. So we'll see, because I listened to the first, I wanted to make sure it was me, for one. Because it's an old YouTube account I don't think I even have access to anymore. So, and it was me. I skipped to at least a little ways in there, but I only listened to like the first 30 seconds, then skipped ahead. I'm like, oh yeah, that annoying, nerdy sounding voice is definitely mine. So let's go ahead and get it started here. And
parents listening out there, and grandparents for that matter, if you've got a pen and paper handy, you might want to even write this down. There's a new best-selling video.
Although, also, I don't know why it sounds like they're recording from inside a channel. But that is how their audio quality was back in 2008. So, go figure.
Video game called Mass Effect. It's made for the Microsoft Xbox 360 console. I believe that's brand new, isn't it?
Yeah, somehow I'm getting the sense by mass you don't mean like a Catholic mass.
I'm not.
Because...
I don't think it's the same, no.
A nice...
you buy your kids these video consoles, whether it's, the Xbox or whether it's Wii or whatever.
Does that not date it a little bit? The Wii. I think the Wii had just come out recently too. That's what's kind of sad about that. The Wii.
Any kind of these, what you really have to watch is the games that they're playing.
You have to watch the games
on these things.
Because listening to the games, by the way, is not a video game. It's an audiobook.
Well, this one in particular, it's called Mass Effect. It's made for Microsoft Xbox 360. What it allows the characters to do, if they always have rewards for, beating the game or getting to a certain level or whatever.
You know more than I do.
It allows the characters to engage in explicitly graphic sexual intercourse.
Okay, so I actually had a love interest. I was femshep, so I got with Caden actually, and yeah, that explicit. I mean, just the penetrating power, the full on frontal nudity and genitalia just slapping against the camera. Oh wait, no, it was actually something I've seen worse stuff on ABC at 8 o'clock in the last 15 years since this was even done. Yeah, that's what it was, a side boob and the side of a butt, and legs were covering all the sensitive naughty bits. And it lasted for, honestly, I guessed on here that it was 5 seconds long, and having seen that recently, it is literally about a 5-second scene, and that's the only one there is in the whole game. The way that made it sound is that basically you load this thing up, and you just start getting into the lovemaking right off the bat. It's just, just right into Pound Town.
You may not know as a parent sometimes what you're getting these kids.
Because you're
Some
an
game
idiot and you're a
experts
bad
and pro
parent.
family analysts see Mass Effect is marketed basically to young kids. The companies making and marketing the game they're saying they should be prosecuted.
Yeah, it's also M for mature, by the way, which is not marketing to young kids. It's marketing, and young kids might see advertisements, but it's still rated M for mature. And yeah, I'm a minute and 20 seconds into this, and I keep interrupting. So hopefully it's not that annoying, but it feels necessary, doesn't it?
I'm saying there needs to be some sort of warning label on there that tells them.
Well, they've got it marked M. I'm looking at it right
There we
now.
go.
Mature.
It's M
We
for
see-
mature on it. The problem you get into with this is even if you bought your kid one, you monitor very closely what you buy them and they play on it. You can go rent these things. You can.
Oh, oh my God. I forgot. This is before the downfall of Blockbuster. I think you could rent these things. Let's see when Blockbuster's downfall. Let's see. I don't know if I can find it off the top, right off the bat like that. Let's see. Yeah, it had to have been right around this time period or shortly thereafter because Netflix was starting to take off. Because I know I was working for the post office, but no, they were still doing discs. So yeah, so Blockbusters were still around. God. Wow. And by the way, I don't know if people know this, but under 18-year-olds couldn't rent things because you had to be an adult to rent stuff. At least as I did. Maybe 16 at the earliest, and at that point, if you don't know what you're getting into at 16, you're kind of in a lot of trouble. I know I'm not talking about financial advice or anything like that, but just in video games in general. If you like video games, you know what you were buying.
Get the cool guy, some
Go to
cool
somebody's
guy
house?
to go rent it, and that's the other one. You have
You're at
no
a friend's
control.
house?
You may not even know why little Johnny continues to want to go over to.
Yeah, because little Johnny wants to spend 34 hours at his friend's house watching him play another game with you sitting there waiting for that 5-second sex scene.
That nice, Brewster kid's house and everything, and his mom's so nice and all of that. Turns
hell's a
out he's got a
Brewster
copy
kid?
of this. They're playing it. You have no idea. You envision him, even if he mentions he's on the video game and they're playing Xbox, you envision him playing Tiger Woods, PGA or something.
Or
and,
some car racing game and that sort of thing. And they're not.
Or Halo, or Grand Theft Auto. Remember, this is the time period Grand Theft Auto was coming under fire from Jack Thompson, which is another video I actually have, and we'll see how well this one goes.
Nearly as innocent as what they used to be. It's part of the story. This character that you choose can become romantically involved with a woman
my
if you're
gosh.
playing as a male, or you can become involved with a man if you're playing as a woman. You get involved with this alien that looks.
It's kind of ironic given that this is what they freak out about now, but later on when the same-sex stuff comes into play, that's then what they freak about. Not so much that there's a sex scene, but that there's a sex scene between two chicks or two dudes, which is as equally tame and mild as the original was, not showing anything but the sides of people's butts, boobs, and thighs. Also, I think there is some kissing, which is all right. I'm sorry that I had to say and be that graphically specific, but two people's lips touch, and it is horrific.
And talks like a woman for any playthrough. This storyline culminates in a cutscene in which the characters copulate in full digital nudity.
And it's getting,
Full
if you haven't seen some of the
digital
clarity that they're getting
nudity.
onto with Xbox 360 now.
When you say full digital nudity,
yeah,
you're
this
talking.
This isn't like the old Mario Brothers and everything. The three.
Or anyone else remember the Atari game Custer's Last Stand, where he just had his schlong sticking out and banging other Indian chicks all around him? Does anyone else remember that? Yeah, because I do. Funny enough, this is the hill they die on, and that one actually was pretty reprehensible, even though it was, very, very pixelated. Still probably not good to do a rape simulator, which is ironic given that the number of games these days that actually do come out on the underground that are rape simulators.
Dimensional effect that they're getting and the near reality is mind-boggling.
Mass Effect has sold, by the way, 1.6 million copies since its release in November of 2007. So this is a brand new game. The game scored
And they're
Best
just now doing it
RPG in the
3 months
2007
later.
Spike TV Video Game Awards.
Oh, wow, Spike
that just pushed it
TV.
even further in terms of popularity. It has been, by the way, nominated for the Game of the Year. Mike, you played this game?
Actually, I have twice.
This
okay,
is me.
tell me about it.
It's exactly what it is you're saying. However, not exactly the way it's portrayed.
Did you get lucky?
I did.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but it's no more than you would.
Can we just talk about the phone quality of this station in 2008? Like, I listen to radio still, and I still listen to callers. But why does it sound like they're in a tunnel and I'm talking to them from a tin can at the end of that tunnel from a long, mile-long string? That is very, very weird. Anyway, back to me being, hopefully, not a complete idiot.
See on Fox.
What? What do you
It's
mean?
no more. They don't actually, when they say whatever you're reading there, when they say full, it's not full. It's like their backs.
So you see not frontal nudity.
No, you don't. I mean, you don't even see like a
So
side
are
butt
you
shot.
okay? So that tell me that you're not saying to me that makes it okay.
No, I'm actually saying that what you're reading isn't entirely true. And
All right,
when I
okay.
bought this game at Walmart, I was carded. I'm 28 years old and I got carded.
I was
Well, it's
28.
Walmart,
All right,
though,
Mike.
too.
Mike.
Walmart's pretty responsible.
According to
Yeah.
this story that I have, because I'm not a big, video
Right,
game.
that's
I
fine.
don't even own one. But according to this story, you can actually have full sex with, a male if you're a female player, or a female if
Right.
you're a male player. So you can actually have sex on screen.
Well, it's not the way they make it sound. It's a role play game, which means you go through. Sorry, I'm at work, so there's some noise. But
That's okay.
you go through a story. You're trying to save the galaxy.
What was I doing at work where there was noise? I'm a mailman. I don't know. I don't think I was driving. I don't drive and talk on the phone because that would be a good way to kill you. But I know I was working at the post office in 2008 because I was about to start dating Chris. Actually, yeah. Actually, I was divorced at this point. So, and I was playing this because my ex-wife cheated on me. So yeah, I was about to start dating Chris here before long. Huh? Weird.
From robotic aliens
Mm-hmm.
is the whole story. And yeah, if you pick a guy character, you can go with a girl or a girl with a guy. But
Don't tell me you can pick a guy if you're a guy and a girl if you're a girl too. Can you?
if you can, I hadn't seen that part, but I wouldn't want to anyway. Because the whole thing is
And
you
I
make a
wouldn't,
series of
'cause I'm
choices.
not
You
gay,
decide to
but
be a good guy or a bad
good
guy
for
kind
you.
of way. Like
But either way,
John
you're,
McClane or an anti-boy.
so either way, you're rewarded with sex at the end.
You don't have to be. That's just it. You make these choices. You can just tell them, hey, this is
Show me,
that's not,
but Mike,
that's not proper.
show me a 13-year-old who's going to say, no, I'm going to opt out of the sex part.
Which is ironic because looking through the comments, there actually was somebody here that listened to this back 10 years ago, and they're like, I was 13 and I actually wasn't interested in dating any of the characters and skipped that entirely, and they never even saw the scene. So I love that. So yes, apparently there are actually 13-year-olds that were like, I'm not really interested. I don't, ew, relationships, girls are icky. Yeah, anyway.
I mean,
Which is why their parents shouldn't have bought it for them, because at most places now, you have to, even if you went to GameStop and things like that, for the most part, you're going to get carded.
Yeah, the real problem is on online ordering, where
If you buy it online,
a
that
lot
is-
of times all they're doing is saying, if you got access to a credit card number and you just say, yes, I am over 21, which is their
Click this
disclaimer to
button
make
if
sure
you're
they're not
over
in trouble.
18.
Yeah.
Mike, do-
But what it breaks down to is the parents need to be responsible with their kids. If they know what they're playing, they'll know of this already. They'll know, they should have. I know a lot of people that play video games constantly that are my age.
yeah.
And if it's anything, 13 or above, their kids don't see the light of day.
And here's
Mike,
the
do you
other thing,
think
though,
that this is appropriate even for adults to be able to?
It's an adult game. It's no more than it's you or me or anybody else going to see a rated R movie. It's no more.
It's a little different in the
than that.
sense that I'm able to, because you know good and well, if you've played these games a lot,
No, it's not different because it's a choice that you make. You make a choice to go see a rated R movie. You make a choice to play a rated R video game, rated M video game. It's literally the exact same thing. Now, if you choose not to go, I know I'm not picking on them. It's their choice, and it's cool. I know there's a lot of Mormons out there that won't see things that are PG-13 or above PG-13. Like, that's their limit. They won't go see any rated R movies And that's just how it is. That is their choice. And you know what? That's fine. I think it's silly, and I don't think it's not a choice I would make, but that's a choice they make, and that's okay. And they wouldn't want to play an M-rated game, which is basically an R-rated game, be it sexual content, violence, foul language, I don't know, hentai. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of something weird, but there's no reason that an R-rated and an M-rated, that's just a choice. If you choose not to see that, well, of course, you're not going to play this game. One, you're not a gamer anyway, clearly. You're going off of a really badly done article. And I'm not even going to bother with it, but Fox News at the time, if I remember how this came about, contacted a psychological specialist and told them what these people are saying about the game, that it was basically a sex simulator, blah, 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 everything you've heard already. And they had her go on the air and say how damaging that stuff would be to young minds, which that's fine. Seeing that stuff at a young age actually can, there's good evidence of, the sex and violence and things in early minds. It can have an adverse effect, especially the sexual stuff, even more than violence, because we've been over this. Violent video games don't actually increase the act of violence in young people and things like that. It really has more to do with their own mind, their own chemistry, and how they're raised and their ability to tell fact from fiction. But with sex stuff, it can. There's definitely studies out there that show porn addiction and things like that can have adverse effects on people's real life sexual ability to perform, because what matches up in reality doesn't always match up what's on the screen, that kind of a thing. So yeah,
that you become so embroiled in your character that's the really neat part about gamers, is they get so embroiled with their character that becomes so infatuating with them. And at the end, it's a little bit different than watching it on screen or having actually chosen to engage in sex with someone else or a character in the game. That's a little bit different to me.
Well, it's like any other addiction that people can have. People drink alcohol all the time, but only a certain amount of them go so far that they actually lose reality.
Let me ask you this.
Same with video games.
Is this one of these that you can play other people around the country or around the world via the net?
It's single player only.
Okay, so you're not at the point where you could actually be having virtual sex with somebody else that's in Japan.
And honestly,
what a leap of logic
game,
that one was.
The clip you're talking about takes about 5 seconds.
Okay, now you're
apparently they were in a hurry.
You're saying you're 28 and such, and I'm sure you wouldn't do this, but do you concede the possibility that if there's somebody that's like, the 21 cool older brother of a 13,
the what ifs and logic and stuff like that is one of the staples of a bad scandal with these kinds of things. Well, what if in this, or can you concede? It's like, well, yeah, I could. It's like with it's basically with any job. Is cops, postal workers, nurses, surgeons, school teachers, trash men, people that use the fryer later at McDonald's. Can I concede that there's probably a bad person among that entire group? Yes, I can concede that. I don't know if you've seen the movie Waiting, but there's entire movies based on people spitting in other people's foods when they're shitty customers, or cops doing bad things. George Floyd, that they probably shouldn't, or teachers having sex with children, or postal workers stealing checks from customers. There's all sorts of, there's shitty people. You can concede anything as that there's always going to be an anomaly in what would be an otherwise okay and typically normalized version. LGBT things. Are there really good LGBT people? The vast majority. Are there some really shitty people among them? Yes. Why? Because they're people, and the people can be really shitty. I've know a lot of LGBT and gays and lesbians and things like that. Bis, Jazz, for example. Her and I have lengthy conversations about LGBT community and how toxic some of it can be. And why? Because they're just shitty people. It's not because they're gay. It's just because they're shitty people. If they were straight, they'd still be shitty people. Why? I know a lot of really shitty straight people. That's how. That's why.
18-year-old kid
That
who
may
then,
say like, "Hey, dude, you want to see
hey
this?"
dude, and then suddenly
Yeah.
you're a parent
I have
and
no doubt.
they go visit and Cool Brother's letting you play with his copy. I mean, do you see that happening?
Yeah, and that's of course that's been happening since the dawn of time of Playboy, I think. So it doesn't make it right. I'm not saying by any stretch of the
Which
imagination,
is a very good
but
point
it's
on
going to
my old
happen. And
part.
Well, I don't think we can
even
stop
parents,
it.
even parents that are
Playboys,
paying
wow,
attention
one of those
can't pay
shared
attention
around.
that closely
I don't think we can
when
stop
the
it.
stupid older brother comes.
I don't think we can stop it. I think what Gwen's doing by bringing this up is hoping to warn parents, hey,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
definitely warn them.
you know Playboys out there. Here's something else you got to watch for.
Well, yeah, and honestly, to any parents out there listening, just keep an eye on your kids when they're buying games. Look at those game ratings. They have it. If you don't know it, there's just like the movie rating system, they have a website for it. Go look at it, see what it means, see what content can be inside games that the different ratings. And
I think
just,
I did actually
By
pretty
the way,
good job.
Be informed.
By the way, I don't know how it plays out as far as age-wise. Is that the same as like in movies, Mike? If it has an M for mature, I mean, what age do you have to be?
For mature is like 17 and above. Then there's like a PG-13 rating. There's G
Okay.
ratings for games like Teen Titans and
So much like the
SpongeBob
movies.
SquarePants. Right.
Hey,
It's a movie.
I want to ask you one thing too, though, because the only time I ever played anything close to this was SimCity, and then The Sims briefly.
Which, by the way, I also saw someone else point out, and I'm going to steal their point in the comment section, that The Sims, I wish I could find, I would love, let's see, Control F, Sims, oh, show more. I'm sorry you had to hear the giant boom twice. Oh, it's because I'm still on. There we go. Let's see here. Let's just load a few comments in here and see if I can find. There it is. Okay. 13 years ago, this guy commented on this video, and Gogglebottom. I don't know what that means, but I'm intrigued and would like to hear more. He says, I made a character in The Sims 2 that... Sorry, this is actually, even when I read this the first time, I laughed out loud. I made a character in The Sims 2 that had sex with all the female characters, including the female maid that came every day. Yet, I hear the best RPG of all time in a game touched by BioWare's Divine Touch is getting this much attention because a pretty much of a censored scene. It's irritating and also laughable, which is true. In The Sims, which this guy has played, you could pretty much bang everything. If your little characters, your little Sims were, they could get it on, and it was about as graphic as that in The Sims. Yeah, The Sims would put up a little blocky, pixelated thing, but the fact that he actually played The Sims and knew that, and I didn't even catch that. I'm like, well, I should have said like, yeah, dude, you've played The Sims. You have relationships in that, and like little babies pop out. And also, by the way, you can be a sadistic bastard. Not that I would personally know such a person. And put them in a swimming pool and remove all the ladders so that they slowly drowned, or put them in a room and then take away all the doors and windows and watch them slowly go insane as solitude and darkness crept in on their minds and caused them to kill themselves as they were unable to defecate or urinate on their own or feed or water themselves. And I gloriously watched them turn in circles in their one square room hovel. Not that anyone would do such a thing like that in The Sims, but Mass Effect couldn't do that.
Right.
When the kids had that, and I kind of checked it out and everything. But there was talk that, there's people that can go out there and sort of hack into the code and create add-ons and whatever. And
Which I don't know that anybody did. I don't remember. Is Mass Effect even... I think it's available on PC. Let's see. Mass Effect PC. Let's do Mass Effect PC mods. Let's see. Oh, there is a mod Nexus for it now. And I would bet you most of that is graphical and probably updates it to like legendary, where the legendary stuff was. Let's see, popular. Let's go look at the popular. Worried, which is, I don't know what, the Human's Victory, surrender motherfucker transmission. Basically, a lot of the mods are just people's save. Oh, it's just this one dude saves over and over and over again. So, yeah. And in 2008, there weren't a ton of mods that were doing what he was about to say.
I had heard that they were actually looking at doing it to where you could simulate sex or whatever. Are you aware? Did that ever happen? Or
no?
In games like in games like The Sims,
yeah,
those are computer games and stuff. And yes, there's ways to do that. But on something like an Xbox 360, a PlayStation 3, or a Wii, those are hard coded, and there's really no way to modify the game anyway,
Mike,
whatsoever.
Thanks for the call and thanks for the advice. I appreciate it. And stay away from those silly games. You need to stop it. You're 28 years old.
All right.
Stop it right now.
I was very nice, I thought. And apparently that's where it wasn't 10 minutes long. It was 9 minutes long. And then there's like a minute and a half of silence. So anyway, that's a blast from the past. So that's back in 2008, early January 2008, that had happened. God, what a stupid time. And that was proliferating everywhere on Fox. And everyone's giving Fox News shit about this too. And they should, because that's where it originated from. But it did spread throughout the media from there. The ironic thing in this now, to me, is that as much as the gaming media in general, IGN, Kotaku, if you call Kotaku gaming media, anyway, they're not, by the way. They rail against things like this happening back in this time period. These are the exact same people that now rail against things like the Fallujah game I talked about several episodes back. 7 Days in Fallujah. The gaming media is now doing the exact same things they hated conservative media for back in the day, and rightfully so, by the way. They absolutely blast it. Blast the conservative media for doing what it did back then. Blast the Democratic media for doing things like that since then, because it switches. And what causes this is it switches between, if it's a Republican or a liberal or a Democrat or a conservative and a liberal version of the media, whatever media outlet you might be interested in, they both do the exact same thing. It only matters that it's their cause that they're doing it against. That's the pinnacle, and that's the jumping point. As long as something is against their mindset, then violence in video games and sex in video games is bad, no matter the side. It just depends on what the context is. So for as example, the 6 Days in Fallujah, the fact that it has Muslims in it and things like that now for liberals and a lot of the gaming media makes it bad. Will it? I don't know. They might be completely right. I'm willing to, concede that point, as the idiot from 13, 14 years ago said. I'm willing to concede that point, and I've said it when I went over 6 Days in Fallujah, that it may not be what they say it is, and if it isn't, I will be on this show and I will rail against it and tell you that I was wrong, and that they were full of shit, and it is just a Muslim murder simulator. And that's not okay. However, if you're telling the story of reality and what happened, regardless of how you feel about it, I don't really like the fact that 6 to 7, 8 million Jews were slaughtered and murdered in the Holocaust of World War II. However, me saying that it's not okay to build or talk about it does not undo the fact that took place in history. Or, as I talked about a few episodes ago, the Tulsa Race Massacre. I almost said riot because that's how I grew up, and that was part of the thing. I wish that hadn't happened, but ignoring the fact that it did doesn't make it okay. If somebody made and even the depictions of it in the shows that I talked about, one of them was far more accurate than the other. I think it was The Watchmen had KKK members running around in their hoods and their horses and all that stuff, which didn't happen. And artistic license is fine. Are they allowed to do that? Sure. Is it historically accurate? No. But neither is The Watchmen, because I don't remember superheroes running around the world either. So I'm not going to jump down their throats over something as inconsequential as having KKK hoods and people are running around in their stupid little white sheets, because it makes the point. I understand that, because I'm not what you would call a moron. So with Mass Effect, it's the exact same thing. Both sides will go against video games if at that exact moment it makes a point they want to do. So when I asked on this, I only got one response. What was I? Shoot, I'm here talking about this. I said, what was the dumbest, funniest, most memorable video game controversy that sticks to your mind? William Hewen didn't quite understand, which is fine. I didn't really give an example. Indigo Jules gave a really good one. 2 of them, actually. One I've already kind of talked about, but the other one was... Both of I actually kind of talked about. But I love his one. He says, the famous misunderstanding of DPS as deaths per second is pretty far up on my list. And he's not crazy. I do remember that being a thing, that there was several articles and talk about DPS being deaths per second and how it's a killer training simulator for young children. They're counting your deaths per second. How many people can you... I'm going to have to do this in Charlton Heston's voice. How many people can you kill per second, where you have to measure it in deaths per second? Soylent Green is made out of people. That I tried to find some articles or something from the past on that, and like I said, fucking Google was just, for all its Googleness, was not smart enough. He also has another one. Another is when, I'm quoting him, Indigo Jules, here, in the Discord, which, by the way, twitch.tv/crashwhile-loading, click the subscribe button over there and go to the About section and you join the Discord server, and you too can talk and have your thoughts beyond the show. And responded to, as Indigo's was about to have. He says, another is any game, and I mean any! It was caps. I have to say it like that. It's required by law. Game that tries to be LGBTQ inclusive, and the amount of crazies that think they are the sole voice within the community complain to high heaven that it isn't done right. Thank you, Indigo. By the way, that is actually true. And funny enough, it works both ways. Because the LGBTQ thing in video games is... I was going to say slippery slope, but that sounds a little bit wrong. I don't mean it that way. I mean, when it comes out that there's going to be a gay or it's gay or lesbian character, I don't even know how to... The LGBT thing gets so outrageous. I saw, what is it? IGN did a thing, because... what was their thing called? And it had all the letters. There's a number now, apparently, in the LGBTQIA2, I think is... I don't even know what the fucking 2 is for. I mean, I keep up on politics and stuff, even the stuff that I think is dumb, like constantly extending out this in the name of exclusiveness. You can't include... Did I say exclusiveness? Yeah, inclusiveness. Because you can't include everyone no matter what you do, especially when they're saying there's 168 genders or whatever it is at this point that aren't actually genders. They're just sexual preferences. Furry, by the way, is not a gender. It's just a preference thing, at least if you're going the sexual route with it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like I said, I'm kind of impressed with some of those animatronic masks. I'm not into it. I'm just impressed by the technology of it. But you can't include everybody. You can't call a group something that tries to include 150 different things. Just stick with LGBTQ+ or LGBT+. Even the Q is superfluous. My friend Jazz, I think she identifies as queer, but like I said, having talked to her, she's like, yeah, it gets a little wordy at times. So what he's saying here with this is, I have a few things. I'm playing through Mass Effect 3 at the moment, and there's Steve Cortez, who I completely forgot about. He's your pilot kind of guy on Normandy, the Normandy SR2. He flies the shuttles and stuff like that, and he's gay. He had a husband, and unfortunately lost him in the story. And I forgot the big muscly dude that you can actually take on. I want to say Alvarez, but I can't remember. I know he's Hispanic, but You can't say he's Hispanic. He's space Hispanic. And, he's in there working out in the bay, and, the banter between them, like, he's always here. The only thing he likes working more is on himself, and it's like, you don't just enjoy the show, S.A., kind of a thing. I love the banter, and the fact that the guy just briefly mentions he lost his husband in one of the raids from the Collectors in the second one, fine. It's just part of that dude's backstory. It's not like a thing. The reason it gets annoying from companies, not the character. The character is fine. Ellie in The Last of Us 1 and 2, perfectly great character. The fact that she's gay and I forget her girlfriend's name. I loved her too. She was a fantastic character. They were all... I just love the series. So, but the fact that the company comes out and tries to make it as a big deal, because as far as I understand, the whole LGBTQ thing is to normalize, which, as far as I know, when you have multi-billion-dollar companies change their every logo across the spectrum to a rainbow flag, I think you've done a good job at normalizing. I think you've actually gone there. You don't seem to be the class of people that some people are trying to portray you as unaccepted. Are there going to be some? Absolutely. There's still people that think black people aren't normal or aren't fully human, and there's still people that think Mexicans are subpar. There's idiots everywhere. I don't know how many times I've probably gone over this on this stupid show. I've ranted about it long before. But the thing with the LGBTQ thing from companies is it always seems so disingenuous. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit that. I'm not gay. I don't find men attractive. I pretty much like the boobies exclusively. Can I tell when a dude is attractive? Yeah, I can, because I'm not stupid. Let's see here. Hugh Jackman, Chris Pratt. Liam Neeson is good looking, but he's all right. What's the other one? Nathan Fillion. I love him, but mostly I notice Ryan Reynolds. I pick a lot of guys with sense of humor, so apparently I'm very attracted to a sense of humor and a strong chiseled jaw. Do I know they're good looking guys? Yeah, they're really good looking fellas, and that's perfectly fine. Am I a good looking fella? Absolutely. I am aware of this. It is a cross I am forced to bear, and I bear it with muscled arms and chiseled abs. As far as you know, because I always wear a shirt on the show. But trust me, they're there underneath the layers of blubber, which I need, by the way, because when I have to fight other seals to impress my woman, that is what is required. Is I need that layer of blubber in order to keep myself protected when we go at each other's throats and necks, as walruses. I lost my train of thought. Can you tell? So anyway, the problem I have a lot with the LGBTQ thing coming from companies is it seems excessively disingenuous. And like I was saying, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's exactly what a lot of the LGBTQ community really wants, is just to be pandered to, because at least in my opinion, that's exactly what it looks like, is they're just being pandered to. And from what I understand and what I've seen, a lot of the people that are in that community don't really appreciate it. Square Enix selling an LGBTQ shirt for, $25? Yes, it is going to their causes and their groups, which is good. I will give them that. That's better than a lot of them do. At least Square Enix is selling the shirts, probably deducting the cost of the shirt making itself, and whatever profit they would have made goes to those costs. But that's beside the point. At least they're giving that to whatever it is, as opposed to other places which are selling the shirts and they're just keeping the profit for themselves. That is disingenuous to me. And again, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm way out on a branch here. And that branch is about to snap, and I'm going to plummet to my doom and snap my neck, and my vertebrae are going to have to then be fused, and I'm going to be in traction for months at a time, and I'm going to have to slowly learn to love again as I relearn the use of my limbs. But I could be wrong too. It has happened a time or two, not often, usually once per year, in fact. But I appreciate, by the way, appreciate Indigo Juice for your comment on that. So that's about where I'm at. It's just these controversies are so ridiculous on these video games. I do my very best when I talk about a thing to at least know or have personal experience with it, and if I do have to go off of reports, I mean, when it comes to like video games being pushed back, yeah, I'm not checking other sources for that bullshit like that or rumors and stuff like that. But when it comes to things like this or the quote unquote controversies, the thing I covered, what was it, last week? I forgot what I've covered so much stuff at this point. I forget what it was. The Five Nights at Freddy thing and stuff like that. I look further into those things, so I don't sound like a complete moron when I make my opinion. Doesn't necessarily stop me from looking like a moron, probably to some people, but that's their problem, not mine. So yeah, that's I think that's where I'm gonna leave it at. Just always question. Thomas Jefferson, question with boldness, even the very existence of God, for if there be a God, surely he would rather honest questioning over blindfolded fear. Now that good advice for religion, and also good advice just in life in general. So I don't really want to do this next part, but I've put it off and out of respect, and I felt compelled to. So, I'm going to close out the show. For those of you that remember, when I had other people on the show, Yunfei, Mel, had her husband, and her husband were on, Ben, who was, I forget what he went by, Fear the Cute Ones, and later on, I think he's in the chat as Unimportant. Unfortunately, he passed away on, I think it was May 17th. It could have been 16th. I forget the exact date. So it was really unfortunate. It was a very sudden thing that we lost Ben. That I say we, but it was Mel that lost Ben. He was a good guy. He was a good friend on the show. He was a lot of fun to have here. And it was very unfortunate he went in his sleep peacefully, which unfortunately for Mel, she was there the whole time when she woke up, and it was hard. She's not here in Oklahoma anymore. She moved back to Maine, where her father and her family and stuff are at, because she there was nothing left really for her here. And I just, it was rough. I really don't know what to say to stuff like that. I really liked talking to him and nerding out with him, playing with him the few times that I did before his, he had a lot of health issues, which was really unfortunate. I don't think it's a secret. I'm sure we talked about it, but he got, I forget, some sort of bacterial infection not long after they got married, and it destroyed his kidneys and put him on dialysis, and then he got diabetes, and it was just one health complication after another after that point, and it was just because of some infection that could happen to anybody. It wasn't anything that he had done personally, as opposed to just dumbass luck and bad luck at that. And yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and I've really missed them being around and stuff like that. And she's doing okay. It's hard. I won't lie. I'm sure I can only imagine. I mean, I've lost a wife, but it was actually kind of a good thing because we just got divorced. But to lose someone like that in their sleep overnight, I can't imagine. My heartfelt condolences go out to Yunfei and, of course, all her family. And yeah, Ben, Bud, you're going to be missed. I'm sorry things went down the way they did with you. It's just a damn shame. So I don't mean to end the show kind of on that, but I've wanted to mention something for quite some time, but I wanted to give it enough time to be, respectful and let her settle in. I don't think she's really listening. She's dealing with her own stuff and getting back on her feet, and one day at a time and all that. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So I think I'll stop there, because, yeah, but just keep her in your thoughts and your prayers. Whatever it is you do to keep people in hurting and pain, just do that. Do that for her. I'd appreciate it. Her and her family both. So with that, I'm going to thank everybody for listening. Remember, twitch.tv/CrashedWhile-Loading. Follow over there. Subscribe if you like. I'm going to try to start, now that I've got my Xbox Series X locked in, I can actually start streaming from that when I actually play something. So hopefully when Hades comes out, I'll do that again, along with a couple other things randomly. But for the most part, it will be Crashed While Loading that is aired every weekend here at twitch.tv/CrashedWhile-Loading. Hopefully I'll be able to do it next weekend. I can't promise that I'm going to do it on Saturday or Sunday. Saturday, Sib and I are kind of going out and drinking, playing beer pong, which we never do with a bunch of people from work. And we may be extremely hungover on Saturday or Sunday, which is the 4th of July, where I'm going to end up still going out to see my family and setting off fireworks, which are legal here in Oklahoma, to blow up our own stuff. So, being I work for the government, I'll be off Monday, so if I can't do it Saturday or Sunday, I will do it Monday. One way or the other, I will be here because I give until it hurts others. And the others are going to be you for having to listen to me ramble on for an hour and 20 minutes. So, that's just how you get it. All right, well, with that, I am Ashen Phoenix. Thanks for listening to Crash While Loading, and I will see you next week. Good night, everybody. And remember, thanks for listening to FM 66.6, The Big Quack.
Quack, 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 quack.